Hey there and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Katie and I do videos about lifestyle, faith, adoption, and travel. But adoption videos are by far my most popular videos, and so I thought it might be good to update you on a big situation happening in our family, which is that we are adopting not one, but two more kids. So let's jump on into today's video. For those of you who've been following my channel for a while, you know that my husband and I adopted our daughter Brielle. She's 2.5 right now. We adopted her last October, but she's been living with us for over a year. We adopted her from foster care, and it was not like a foster to adopt situation. It was strictly like adopting a waiting child from foster care. And I actually have a video I have a couple of videos you might want to check out if that interests you at all. So I'll link these videos up in the corner. The first video is our adoption journey with going through the process of adopting our daughter Brielle, and you can find everything in there from the timeline to how we were feeling to why we decided to adopt, how we ended up adopting from foster care instead of choosing a different route, all sorts of stuff. Check out that video. The other video that I have is actually about how to adopt a child from foster care, and then I have a third video actually that is also why I think you should consider adopting a child from foster care. And so I will link all of those videos above, like I said. I'll also link them below. One thing that is kind of good to know about my husband and I is we chose adoption as our plan A. As far as we know, we don't have fertility issues or anything like that. Adoption was just always something that was on our hearts and something we really wanted to do. And so when we adopted our daughter the first time, we knew that we wanted to adopt again. And actually, our parameters had been open pretty wide the first adoption. Like, we were willing to adopt, sibling groups and things like that because we knew we wanted more than one kid and we knew we wanted to adopt all of our children. So kind of a different situation than some people, but despite the fact that our parameters were that open, we were matched with an 18-month-old little girl, and we were open to like sibling groups up to the age of 10 and all sorts of stuff, and somehow we were matched with a little toddler, which was a huge blessing. I mean, we weren't expecting that at all. It also presented its own like unique set of challenges, but it was a wonderful experience, and we love our daughter so much, and we're just thankful that we get to spend more of her life with her. But anyway, enough about our other daughter's adoption. We're talking about a new situation. So I want to just say before I start that I'm not going to be sharing a lot about our kids. First of all, right now I cannot because they are in foster care, and I want to just respect their privacy in general. I think it's a little bit different sharing about my toddler because I don't know about you, but if there were videos of me as a toddler, about me as a toddler, I wouldn't really care as much if people saw videos about that. But if I was like in elementary school, upper elementary school, like I would not want all these videos about me circulating around. So that is why I'm going to be really careful with what I share. So this is going to be a lot more focused on my husband and I and our like response to adopting and kind of how the process has been so far, and less about like our actual kids. And I will not be answering questions about our kids' case like in the comments or anything, just so you know. Not even trying to be rude, I just can't, and honestly, I don't think it's respectful to them. So I was going through my emails to try to figure out the exact timeline here, and it's kind of insane how quickly we were matched this time. In our last adoption, I believe that we were licensed in about August of, I think it was 2018. And we got our license, and then we were like almost matched a couple times. We had some situations that were close, but we were not actually matched until January of the next year. Actually, I think our official matching was February. So that's a pretty decent amount of time. Still not a bad wait, but it's a decent amount of time. So like 5-6 months is kind of how long we waited the first time, which seems typical, if not on the low end of typical. So that was, our first situation. And we were matched with a younger kid, and so I guess that can take longer. I don't know, but our parameters were so open. I think there's no like real typical wait in foster care adoption. I know a lot of you guys will ask me in the comments all the time, like, exactly how long did you wait? And I was the exact same way. When we went through the process the first time, I was always asking everybody, well, how long did you wait? And I was like, if I take an average of all the different waits everyone had, then I can figure out how long I'll wait. And the truth is, you just have no clue. And if anything has proven that, it's been this time we've adopted. So we actually had been we knew we wanted to adopt, but we also wanted to wait until we felt like our daughter was at a good point where we thought, you know, she would handle new kids coming into the family well, because we figured we'd probably be disrupting like the birth order, even though it's not birth order, just because, you know, we figured she might end up being the youngest kid. And so we wanted to make sure she was ready. So we had talked about it in like December and in November and everything, but we kind of were like, let's tell our families when we see them for Christmas. We can tell them in person we're planning on adopting again. And then what we'll do is we'll start the process in like January. And for some reason, we did not like tell our agency right away in January. I think it was because there were some things up in the air with like my husband's job situation. He is actually, as of now, a stay-at-home dad. He got his seminary degree this past spring is when he finished it. And so we had been kind of figuring out, are we gonna like wait and move first? Are we gonna see if he gets a job? And then obviously like coronavirus happened now, so that's not happening. But at that time we weren't really sure if we should wait. And you know, we just decided we really feel like we're going to adopt. We might as well do it. We don't have any like real good, you know, job situations popping up, and we're happy in our current setup. So we waited though, I think the email I sent was like January 21st of 2020. And we just told our agency, hey, we're one to adopting, and how can we get started on that process? And you know, obviously we were still filling out like paperwork for it and everything and all that stuff. And I mean, it was only a month later that we first heard about the kids that we're adopting. And the way it was a little different, because you know, sometimes you might look through photo listings, or you know, your social worker might send you, hey, do you want me to submit you on these kids, or you want me to submit you on these kids? And you know, you're just like, yeah, go ahead, but you don't really hear back. At this point, when our caseworker emailed us, she had already submitted us on these kids, and she had already heard back, and she said the social worker is really interested in you guys and she wants to talk to you. And we're like, oh, okay. And you know, we found out it was a 9-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy, and their brother and sister, and they're in our state and everything. And so we were just like, okay, we wanted to know a little bit more about their case and make sure that it was going to be a good fit with our daughter and things like that. But the more that we learned about them, the more that we just felt like this might be like a really good fit for everyone involved. And obviously there were parts of us that felt like a little bit crazy at the time, because my husband and I are both 29. We just turned 29 recently. And so we're not like young, but we're not that old. And to have a 9-year-old, that would have meant that like I would have had that child when I was 20, and we haven't even been married for 9 years and stuff. And she's actually 10 now, by the way. It was her birthday recently. So we have a 10-year-old and we're 29. So it's just like not the most typical situation. And we knew that most of our friends do not have kids that age. We also knew that, you know, our kids are the first grandkids on both sides of our family. And so that's a pretty big age gap. And so there were a lot of things to kind of consider and make sure that we thought it was a good situation. But after talking to the caseworkers, we just felt like the caseworkers just had great things to say about these kids. And what's really cool is that the adoption worker had actually been the caseworker for the kids before she switched roles. So she knew a lot about them from previous years, and then their current caseworker also had great things to say about them. And so we were just like, are we crazy? Like, we're thinking of adopting not just like an older kid, but like 2 kids at once. And the families we know who have adopted, they haven't adopted older kids. Most of them, I think like the highest age that they've adopted is like a 5-year-old. And obviously we are adopting a 5-year-old, so that's nice. But we didn't really know anyone who had gone older. And you hear these stories where it's like, oh no, they're older, they've been through so much, they're gonna be like really traumatized, and there's gonna be all these problems. But honestly, like, it just didn't seem that way with her case. With what we knew about her, it seemed like she was really well adjusted and really doing well. And I mean, obviously there's trauma in every adoption, and you have to expect that. But we were just very surprised with how well adjusted our daughter seemed, and just how open she was to the idea of adoption and all of that stuff. And so That was really encouraging. And when we talked to our families, I think that they were a little bit worried. Like, just not worried, I wouldn't say, but they just wanted to make sure that we had thought through all these different things. Like, I remember my mother-in-law was like, so do you realize that means that you'll have a teenager in only 3 years? And we're like, yeah, that is definitely something to think about. Like, are we ready for that stage yet and all of that? But we both feel like we are. I mean, I've taught, you know, 4th grade through high school, and I'm used to that age group. Obviously it's different parenting than teaching, but I do have experience with them and I kind of know what that age group is typically like. So I do feel like that is helpful, because I honestly knew nothing about toddlers before we adopted, and that proved to be difficult because I didn't know like what to expect, I guess. So we did decide to say yes, and then we found out at that point that, I mean, we were like pretty much the only family that they were looking at. And so we basically, like, there wasn't this like selection process. We just got to move forward. So that was really cool. We were really excited about that. So all of this was happening in like February, early March. And as you know, what happened in March was that coronavirus started. Now, thankfully, we actually got to meet the kids. I mean, I kid you not, like the weekend before everything shut down. We drove to their town, we got to see them, we got to go to this fun little place with them, have a little, you know, we saw them in their foster home one night, and then the next day we went out with them. And it was really great because we just got to meet them before everything shut down. Because once it shut down, visits shut down too, which was hard because, you know, you just met them. But what was nice is we started doing phone calls twice a week. So throughout March, April, May, we were talking on the phone twice a week. Now, to be fair, our daughter's a lot more talkative on the phone than our son. I mean, a boy in general, and then a 5-year-old boy, just not really, him and the phone just don't really mix that well. But our daughter, we've really gotten to know her well by talking on the phone. And it really helped. I think it made everyone feel more comfortable. Like, it gave us more time to get to know each other, and we were allowed to send her like little gifts or send them little things. So we would send her like a list of questions that we could ask on the phone to get to know each other, and, you know, we'd send letters or send pictures or something. And so I really think it ended up being a blessing that we were able to actually have that time to talk and get to know each other. And it actually made it better, I think, when we got to see them again in June. So in June, they did allow us to visit again. And the kids, they wanted the kids to visit us like 3 times at our house before they could actually like move in permanently. And so they visited, I think for the first 2 visits, they were here for about 5 days. And then the last visit, they were here for like a week and a half. So they could kind of get a feel of like what it would be like after they've been here for a while. And it actually, you know, it was good. The first visit was a little bit more rough. The second visit was a little bit better. The third visit was a little better, and there were rough spots, but I think we've gotten a pretty good picture of like what our routine will look like. Now, obviously, it's summer right now, and when school starts, that will change. But I mean, I feel like most parents think summer's kind of hard because your kids are home with you all day long. They're not at school. And I definitely, I think in some ways the structure of school will help them. But I do have a pretty structured daily schedule for them here, and it seemed to help all of us stay sane, like help them feel more comfortable. It's helped me feel more sane. And I actually talked about that in a recent weekly vlog that I did. I showed my schedule. So if you're interested in that, I'll link that above. So yeah, things have honestly been going really well, and we really love the kids' foster mom, and she's been super helpful in like telling us more about them, and I feel like she's a great resource for us, and that we're gonna be able to call her whenever we want. Like, she's literally like, just call me whenever, I'll help you with anything. Like, just I'll help you figure out what you can do with them, or if you want advice or anything. So she's been a huge resource, and it's been so awesome to have her. So actually, the day that I'm recording this, I'm sure this won't be posted for several weeks, but the day I'm recording this, the kids are moving in tomorrow. Like, yeah, tomorrow. We're going to pick up the kids tomorrow. Actually, most of their stuff is already here. Their foster mom was just like, she is awesome. She sent like so much stuff with them. She's not one of those foster moms who's like in it for the money, you know, sometimes that happens. She loves these kids and they've been with her for a long time, and she's gotten them all these toys over the years and all these clothes. I mean, she sent everything with us, bikes, everything. And so she actually like had us take stuff each time we pick them up or drop them off, so that when they're at our house, they'd start to feel like this is home, my stuff is here. And that, I think, was a really good move. So yeah, basically all their stuff is here. Tomorrow we're gonna pick up some of the rest of their clothes when we pick them up, but tomorrow is the move-in day and they will be with us from here on out. And we have about a week or so at home, and we will have several social worker visits in that first week. Their worker's gonna visit us and our worker is going to visit us. And then the following week, we actually are going out of town with them. Kind of crazy timing, but they're going to be coming to my brother's wedding. He's getting married in Tennessee, and these kids have never been to Tennessee before. They haven't been outside of the state ever, and so, as far as we know at least. And so this will be a really cool experience for them. They get to see mountains for the first time. They seem really excited. I think the car trip will be a little bit rough potentially because they're not used to it. But I'm really excited to just take them there. And they have actually met quite a bit of my family so far. My husband's family, they have not been able to meet yet, but they have met my parents and my sister and all of that. So it will be nice when we go to Tennessee that there will already be some familiar faces and people that they've seen. And they've seen my mom like twice already, so I think that will kind of help them feel more comfortable. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I kind of plan to do some updates throughout the process and just be updating you on kind of where I'm at emotionally, where I'm at, you know, just in general, mentally maybe, during this whole adoption process, because it can be really hard. And I know that at this point during our first adoption, I was very like, woohoo, I'm so excited, it's all happy. And I'm definitely kind of feeling that way again. There's a little bit of fear mixed in, I think, because I remember how hard the first few months were with our daughter. And so I'm a little bit nervous that, you know, things could take a turn for a little bit. It could be hard for me personally to just deal with all the change. And so I want to kind of document the journey. Just for those of you who are considering going through, you can kind of see the highs and lows. I also have videos about like post-adoption depression that I went through the first time, and post-adoption blues, I guess you can call it. I really struggled with that during our first adoption, and you know, there are a lot of reasons why it can happen, but it was a really real feeling for me. And so there's a little part of me that's worried that could happen again. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like I have a better perspective this time through. Obviously very different ages, but these are also ages where you can have conversations. And that was one of my hardest things with adopting a toddler, is I never knew what she was really feeling, if she was just acting out because she was a toddler or if she was acting out because she was angry. And I think with an older kid, even so far in conversations we've had, it's easier to tell what's what. And being able to talk through things with people is like one of my strengths. And so, especially with kids, like that's just why I'm a teacher. Like there's a lot of situations I've been through with that. I am kind of positive right now. I feel like it'll be better this time around, despite the fact that it's 2 more kids and life is going to be crazy. I think if anything, I'm really going to struggle with just being needed all the time. I've already felt that during the visits because I am an introvert. And so having all these, you know, having 3 kids be like, mom, 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 like that's already been a little bit of a like, whew. But you know, what's different is I actually can explain to my daughter what an introvert is and the fact that I am one and that I need time. And I already have had that conversation with her once and it seemed to go well. So just the communication piece of adopting older kids, I think, will be helpful for me. I could be totally wrong about this and I could totally eat my words later, but I'm going to show you the honest truth of where I am right now. So that is our adoption update. Thank you for sticking around in this very, very chatty video. If you have questions that are not related to specific elements of my children's cases, you can feel free to ask below. Also, if you're going through the adoption process and you want to share your story, I love reading your stories in the comments as well. So please don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe if you want to know about the rest of our adoption journey, because like I said, I'll be updating you guys throughout the process and kind of showing you the highs and lows of it all. So thanks so much for following along, and I hope you have an awesome day.